Okay, so fast forward 4 years later, it's 2020, another election year, might I add. And I had just finished being a speaker at this really big internal event for Bank of America. The top 100 credit executives from around the world were flown into the same place. And I was asked to speak very candidly about my story, my rise as a leader after fleeing abuse in my marriage, and essentially transforming not just the team that I came in or the spaces or the environment, but the minds of leaders. And I spoke. It was a standing ovation after speaking. I look out into the crowd and there are no black people, right? The only black human in the room was a woman who was, I believe she was bringing the food or something like that, right? But these people were in tears, right? And at the end of that speech, an executive walked up to me. She was a white woman. She was in tears, and she said, "Casey, your gift is so much bigger than these four walls." She says, "As a matter of fact, it's bigger than this company," right? And I looked at her, not shocked by anything that she said. I said, "I agree. I know. And something's coming." And at that time, I was talking about my book. I was a few weeks away, honestly, from releasing my first book. It was a memoir called Pain Unseen: The Truths That Lie Beneath My Strength. And that was my first dabble into commerce and producing something of my own and publishing it. And I have a book release in February of 2020. And then by March, the entire world changes because we're in a pandemic, right? And regardless, throughout that year, news of my book makes it up to the COO of the company. It's a huge company, like 240,000 employees, right? A lot of folks advocating for me and really what I see in hindsight, really grooming me for leadership, right? Like global leadership as I want it, right? And the COO decided to have a live to desktop across the world called Meet the Author, Casey Richardson. And I was going to talk about my book. But in this same year, we have black bodies being mutilated right and left in news cycles, just traumatizing us and re-traumatizing us over and over again. We're already dealing with a pandemic, right? But just the brutal violence and attack against our lives, despite that, right, was just grueling. And inside of our company, inside of our team meetings, inside of the water cooler conversations, there was this lack of acknowledgement, right? And holding space for what we're feeling and unequivocally stating, right? The hypocrisy and violence that we're experiencing. And so once again, I was able to pour into the streets of Oakland and find community. I was protesting in the evenings. And this time it was different. It wasn't like the Women's March that we would have in San Francisco. Like this time we were at the front of the line. We were talking about our issues and our livelihoods, and it did something for me, man. Because in those streets, I saw some of the most brilliant minds that I'd ever come across in my life, despite working with a whole lot of big shot executives inside of the bank that I was working for, right? And it stirred something inside of me that I could not turn off. A level of conviction and understanding of my unique position, right? And ability and acumen in this fight. And so 2 weeks before this event was supposed to happen, live to desktop, Meet the Author, Casey Richardson, I quit. I left. I walked away from corporate America. I told everyone that I was going to build an app that edifies black people, that just can disseminate information and tools and support in the palms of their hands to eradicate a lot of these barriers, right, to entry that many of us experience, and to do it at scale. And that was October. And before the elections took place, because I did not know what the outcome would be in November of 2020, I got on a flight to Dubai and I stayed for a month. And the first 3 weeks I slept for 3 weeks straight, I did not know how tired my soul was. I had no idea how tired my soul was. And I started from there, crafting this life of greater ease and freedom and flexibility, first for me, and then with full intention to help other Black women do the same thing, right? And after spending a month in Dubai, I came back. I said if the outcome didn't, pan out the way that I hoped, I would not come back and I would figure it out. Because much like when I left my marriage at the drop of the hat, very quickly for safety, I believed that I could do it again. I believed that I could figure it out, that I could build the plan out as I was flying it, that I was smart enough and grounded enough and creative enough, right, to find home again. And so a journey of finding home across the world began. I went to Zanzibar for 3 weeks. I met a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful human who is now my husband. My first time allowing myself to really be in relationship and intimacy and love in over 4 years. And at the top of February 2021, I moved on a one-way flight to the continent. I moved to Cape Town, South Africa, with the full intention of staying for a year and figuring it out. And I was building and crafting Blaze at the same time. I wanted to put skin in the game, to bet on myself, and to show myself that I was as limitless as I felt. Believing that if I could do it for me, truly live that lifestyle, right, I could help other Black women navigate the same for themselves.